Hey guys, here today with a video showing you how to replace a starter on a 2020 Hyundai Elantra. I believe this should work for the 6th generation Elantra with this engine. I think it's 2016 through 2020, I believe. I think the next generation may have been sold in 2020, but they would have been 2021 models. So I don't know. This car looks like this body style. So now obviously I'm not a professional, so I don't know the exact method to get this starter off. I believe the correct way is to take this intake manifold off, remove all the airbox stuff, and pull it off. I have seen people take the airbox off, disconnect some of the shift linkage stuff, I believe, and throttle body, and get to it like from this area right here. However, I went on ahead and went to the bottom of the car because I haven't really seen many people go to the bottom of the car, and it may be easier. What I did was I removed this big plastic shield. It's held on just by some plastic clips that you can use a flathead screwdriver to pry the pin out, and then just take the clips off. And then there's I think like 5 10mm screws. But if you look just under the car here, excuse the light, but the starter is just right here. So there are some clips and stuff in the way, but I believe it's easy to get to the starter from here. There's one starter bolt right here, and I think the other one is just on top of this here hump looking thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is disconnect the positive terminal on the battery. So let me take you up there and show you where that's at. Alright, up here on the top, got the battery, has this little clip here. Just flip that over and it should be a 10mm. This one right here, a 10. That will loosen all of this up, and you should be able to just lift it up and take it off. Now I'm going to close that back up like that, so make sure it doesn't touch anything. Or put it over here out of my way, I guess, for now. Yeah, that should be fine. So I don't plan on doing anything up here quite yet. However, I do not know until I get down there and start taking things apart. I may have to get to the top starter bolt this way, so that I may end up needing to remove this airbox, but I will definitely let you guys know as I am getting down there. And I apologize now in advance. I'm probably not going to be able to get the best camera angles because it's just really tight in there, but I'll do my best. Okay, working just under the car here, you can see the oil filter is right here. Then there's the oil pressure sensor guy right here. I'm actually going to disconnect this sensor right here just because I don't know if it'll be in the way later on, but it's just a tab that you squeeze and pull off, I believe. Yep, just like so. Then what I'm going to do is remove this 10mm screw right here that's holding this bracket. It's just a 10 that's right in the way, and hopefully that'll enable me to move all of these cables out of the way, or at least be able to get to the back of this bracket so that I can remove all these connectors. And on the back of the connector, on the back of this bracket, there are plastic pins that are pretty much sliding into it. On the back here, if you get just a pair of needle nose pliers, you can squeeze the tabs and pull them out of place. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so like I said before, on the back of these brackets there's these little guys right here, this guy right here. You would just need to pinch this just like this. You just pinch these down right here, it'll come out of the bracket. And then on the back side of this thing there is a tab right here. If you press this tab down right here, it'll slide off of this bracket entirely. So you can see this is kind of pretty much out of my way now. I'm just going to tuck it up to the side so it is completely out of the way. And then I don't think this is the crank sensor right here. I'm just going to let this dangle. I may have to move it out of my way, but for now I think we'll be okay. I'll just move some of this other wiring out of the way. If you look up here, just right here. This wire right here is the signal wire for the starter. Go on ahead and depress the tab in towards the motor and then pull this tab out of there. Just like so. That is disconnected now. You won't be able to see, and I'm sorry I can't show you, but just above that connector you just undid. So, you see if I can move this out of the way. Just right here, right directly above that connector, just right above it, there's a rubber cap. I'm kind of touching it right now. I'm sorry I can't show you, but that's where the power wire from the starter or from the battery is coming. So if you just pull the cap off with your finger, you will see that it is a 12mm nut. So go on ahead and remove that nut, and then we can go on ahead and take the starter cable or the power cable off of the starter. Shouldn't be very tight at all. Taking it off by hand. Then this cable should just slide off of the starter. Like so. This is the cable here. Just has a rubber cap on it and it'll just come off. You could just, you know, tuck that up out of your way. There should be only 2 bolts holding the starter on, and I will show you where those bolts are. I'm going to get the new starter, and I always recommend trying to get the new starter so that way you can see exactly where the bolts are orientated on the motor so that you can kind of have an idea of where they're at. Alright, I have the new starter here. If you remember, we took off the starter signal wire and then that 12mm that was just behind there. And it will pretty much be sitting in the car, kind of how it's sitting right now on the ground. There is this one bolt that's here holding it on, and then just one other bolt directly above it holding it on. So let me show you what those look like on the car. There is the one bolt just right there. Let me see if I can point it out with my screwdriver. Just right here, that's one bolt right there. And the other bolt, if you remember looking at the starter on the ground, is just going to be above that, above this hump right here. You may be able to kind of blindly get to it from up top. I believe this is a 14mm bolt right here, and the other one should also be a 14mm. So this one right here I'm going to go ahead and take off now. I will see if I can get to the other one from here. If not, then like I said earlier, I may have to remove the airbox up top just so I can clearly see what I'm doing up there. But I'm going to go ahead and remove this one now, and then I will get right back to you guys. Okay, that's one bolt out. I'm gonna see if I can reach around and touch the other bolt. Yeah, I can definitely feel it from here. I just don't know if I'll be able to get to it. See if I can. Alright, so it's definitely going to be a challenge to get to that top bolt from the bottom. I can feel it with my hand, however my wrench is just a little too big to get it in there. And considering how tight these bolts are, I don't think you're going to be able to do it with a small wrench unless you're, or ratchet, excuse me, unless you're maybe just really strong. But I'm going to go ahead and pull off this airbox. The first thing you will need to do is to disconnect the mass airflow sensor. Just squeeze a tab, squeeze this little tab right here and pull it off. And then you can go on ahead and remove this from this bracket. If you remember, we can just loosen up this here 10, and then this whole thing should rotate around and you can take it off that way. Then the airbox is just held on by a couple of clips, one here, and I think, oh yeah, one here, one here. You'll have to remove this connector from here, but I remember pressing in these little plastic tabs in the back. And then you'll have to remove this here breather hose by just getting a pair of pliers, squeezing this hose clamp right here and pulling this off. And the actual clamp that's holding the intake tube to the throttle body is just through this tiny little crack right here. I don't even know if I can zoom in there to get you the head of the bolt. Probably not. Yeah. I don't know. It's just down in that hole right there. You can see, oh there, that yellow tip of the screw right there. You can see that. Anyway, we're gonna just take a screwdriver and take it straight through there, and that'll get it off. So let me pull this airbox off real quick. Okay, that's removed. I'm go ahead and take these two clamps off. Lift this up. Alright, so this is now off. Go on ahead and remove this air filter out of here. Now's a good time to replace this if you'd like. I'm just going to set this up here. Go ahead and remove this breather hose. Like so. And as I mentioned before, you got to get down in that little crack and get that screw off. We can just remove this out of the way. The bolt to the top of the starter is just right at the tip of my screwdriver, which is right there. You may be able to just move this radiator hose out of the way. By move, I do not mean disconnect and drain all the coolant out, but you can just push it out of the way and get to it. As you can see, there's just some stuff that's in the way here. What I'm probably going to do is remove this air box, which is this 10 right here and this 10 right here. Then that'll allow me to move this whole air box out, and I'll probably have a pretty straight shot at the bolt, at least with some extensions. Then I'm going to take it off that way. So that's the way I'm going to go about getting it off. I know I just mentioned that you could take those two 10s off. There's actually another 10 that's hidden underneath this. And to remove this, you need to push these two pins down right here and remove these clamps. You just push them down like so. Like so. And then you can go on ahead and remove those. Just come up like that, like so. Now you to pull this guy out, and if you just look straight down here, there's one more 10 millimeter to get this air box off. Alright, now that I got the airbox out of the way, you can see just that black bolt that's right there where my finger's at. That is this top starter bolt. If you remember from looking at it from the bottom, you can see just the bottom starter bolt hole right down there that we've already taken out. Sorry, just at the tip of my finger right there. Then there was that hump right here. Then there's the top starter bolt. So you can get to this bolt probably with a long extension or some sorts, however you want to get to it. That is the bolt. Once you remove that, then the starter very well might just fall from the bottom, so you might need to have someone to help you hold it. Or, I mean, it's broke anyway, so you could just let it fall down too if you would like. But after that's out, the starter should be able to be maneuvered out of the bottom. That came off pretty easily. Alright, now that I have this really loose, what you could do is take the first bolt you took out from the bottom and hand thread it back into the bottom hole and completely remove this top one, so that way the starter just doesn't fall to the ground. Then you can go back under the car and loosen up the bottom bolt, you know, the one you just screwed in. That way you can have a hand on the starter and a hand on one of the bolts. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Here's a bolt right here for the upper starter. So all I'm gonna do is go back down now to the bottom, loosen up the bolt I just told you to put back in, and remove the starter. Alright, there's the starter. Alright, so you go ahead and take your new starter and get it back up into place and just start the bottom bolt. Once you get this bottom bolt pretty much all the way tight again, the top bolt obviously automatically should be pretty close to where it needs to be. Alright, got the bottom bolt completely tight. So I am going to go back up top now, thread in the top bolt and tighten that bolt up. I'm not going to show that part to you guys, but I figured you can just manage that on your own, so I'll be right back. Alright, I got the top bolt tightened, bottom bolt tightened. Since I'm already down here at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and just put all this back together now. If you remember, at the back of the starter, you need to go on ahead and reattach the starter power wire, which is the wire that has the 12mm nut on it with the rubber cap. So go on ahead and slip that back into place. And then go on ahead and tighten up the 12mm nut that goes on top of that. Again, sorry you really can't see what I'm doing, but I am just on the back of the starter here tightening up the bolt. Okay, that's on. Then you go on ahead and plug up the starter signal wire again. It's just this wire that's right here in the back that plugs right into the back of the starter. Just like so. And then from here you can go on ahead and reconnect the bracket that you took off right here. Remember, that's held on by the one 10mm screw, and whatever else connections you undid, you can go on ahead and put those back into place. They got the bracket tightened back on. Going ahead and reconnect this plastic tab. Alright, so all this down here should be good to go. You could put the plastic cover back on, the big splash shield that you took off with all the various plastic clips and whatnot. I'm not going to show you how to do that. You can just slip that back on. I will go back up top now and show you how to reinstall the Airbox. Alright, so you'll just grab the box, slip it straight back down into the spot it came in. Don't forget to line up this here hole with the big giant pipe that's down there. It's hard to miss it. But just slip that all into place, and you get the 3 10mm screws and just tighten everything down. And then from here you can go on ahead and put in your air filter, slide it back down into place into the box. And we're going to go on ahead and get the air intake tube back on. You remember that goes on like this here, just slip straight over, and you'll have to get to the screw from like this tiny little crack over here on the side. Okay, got that guy on, he's tight. Don't forget to reconnect the breather tube here. It slips on. A pair of pliers to get the clamp back on. Like so. Then we'll go on ahead and slip the box back on the lid. This just has two notches in the back that slip into the box. And you'll have to use the two clips to hold the box into place. One here, one here. This wire goes underneath the intake tube around to the other side. If you remember, it will clip in right here, and it'll clip in on this other clamp over here as well. Wind's starting to kick up, sorry. Go on ahead and reconnect the mass airflow sensor. And then from here, we can go on ahead and stick this last portion of intake tube in here with the two plastic clips. This thing right here just slides straight over to a big pipe on the side that's kind of underneath the headlight. Kind of hard, you can't really miss it, and then you'll just put the two plastic clips back into place. In order to, when you did remove these, you push the pin down. What you want to do is to pull the pin all the way back out, and then stick these in there without the pin. The pin's right here in the middle, and you can just stick the pin right back into place. So push the small center pin all the way out so you're holding two different pieces, then slide the big washer side in first, and then push the other pin in until it's flush. The last thing left to do would be to reconnect the battery and then go on ahead and test the starter by obviously trying to start it up. So we're going ahead and reconnect the battery. Just place this guy right back over top. Then you'll use your 10mm to tighten this bolt back up. And cover that up like so. Then grab the key and try and start it. And there you have it. Start it right up. So if you have any comments or questions, please ask us in the comment section below. If it's your first time in the channel, appreciate you guys stopping by as usual. This whole job should probably take you, if you're pretty fast, it'll probably take you about 45 minutes. If you're a little on the slower side, or if it's your first time, I'd probably say about an hour and a half or so. It's really not that difficult of a job. Like I said, there are many people doing it many different ways. I don't know why, but this way was actually very easy. So appreciate you guys stopping by. I'll see you guys on the next one.